for all the work that we do. First rule is cell phones off. Let's do that one. And we don't want anyone to break that rule. The second rule, which a lot of you may break, in fact all of you will, and that's to be here. Now, if you find what I have to say boring and you want to physically leave, that's no problem. You may physically go. But what concerns me is if your body's still here and your mind is gone. So try and be in your body. And every time you do break that rule, just notice that you've broken it. So my guru, if you want to call him that, Eckhart, says awareness is the greatest agent for change. So every time you are not present and you're aware that you weren't present, that in itself is awareness, which is enough to start a healing process within you. So just be aware of how difficult it is to fully incorporate your body, even for an hour. And every time you leave, you are entrenching old, unconscious, diseased energy patterns, which are influencing not only your physical body, but also your relationships, your careers, and everything like that. Okay. So welcome. Let's start this evening by doing the most important work we can ever do. Just gently close your eyes and take a very deep breath in and a long breath out. Take another very deep breath in, but this time a lot deeper. And as you breathe out, make the out breath twice as long as the in breath. At the end of that out breath, just notice a little pause before the in breath happens. So try that again. Take a deep in-breath right down to your solar plexus. And then breathe out twice as long as the in-breath. Let it all go. And just notice that empty space at the end of the out-breath. Just allow life to carry on breathing you with your eyes closed for a moment. And just stay in that space that you met at the end of the out-breath. There was a little stillness there. Emptiness. Just honor that sacred quietness, emptiness within you, with your attention. And it's there every time you breathe out. There is that little pause. Totally insignificant for the personality, but in fact it's the depth of being. Just notice it for a moment. Honor it with your full attention. Quiet space between the breaths. Now notice how you feel as you do that. You might notice a little shift in your energy pattern. Take another deep breath in, right down to your toes this time. And an even longer out breath. And connect once more with that little space at the end of the breath. Very sacred place. Now keeping our eyes closed, let's just connect for a moment or two with our physical bodies. Connect with your toes at the end of your feet. They were there this morning when you got dressed, but maybe they've fallen off during the day. Just check with your awareness that they're still there. You might have to wiggle them a little bit, just check in with them. And check in with your hands, the beautiful digits that we have called fingers that allow us to do so much in this world. To hold a cup of tea or coffee, to hug someone. It's a miraculous gift to have fingers, to have toes. And now let's bring our attention to our ears. See if you can hear the hum of the fan or the air conditioner. And listen even more intently and see if you can hear the beating of your heart in your own eardrums. Every time your heart beats, it pushes a pressure wave through the eardrums. Let's see if you can pick that up. And now ask yourself a question. Who or what is listening? Take a deep breath in and breathe out and gently open your eyes. So in asking that question, who is listening, the mind may come in with, well, it's John that's listening. But if you were really present in that moment, there would be no answer. No answer at all. Because there's no someone there to listen. There's no personality, there's no ego. There's just awareness of the listening. Did anyone get into that space? Yeah, some of you did. Now that space is so overlooked by the thinking mind. In fact, the mind will avoid that space at all costs, because in fact it has to almost die for you to come into that space of no thought, no mind. And yet, if there is any trauma in your life, if there's any dis-ease in your life, if you're ever stressed, which is the opposite of ease, that is the space of healing. That's the point of healing. It's not out there in time. It's actually in the timeless essence of being, which you connect directly with, not through a belief. I'm not giving you another religion to believe in. You connected directly with that space at the end of your out breath. Most of you would have been able to get into that emptiness. The Buddha called it emptiness. And the problem is, we don't pay attention to anything we don't value. Only that which we value we pay attention to. So a lot of us really value our problems, and we pay them a lot of attention. Yes, right? You know, everything is wrong in the world, we pay that a lot of attention. We really value the government, we pay them a lot of attention. But in fact, the source and the depth of your true being, we completely overlook. We don't value it, generally. The mind doesn't value it. And as we make a shift in our lives, and we start to value the formless rather than the form, the essence of being over the human doing, and we start to value this, we pay it more and more attention. And as we do that, the trauma, the stress, the dis-ease drops away. Because in truth, we are not the body. We are consciousness, unconditioned consciousness, having a conditioned experience. And the conditioned consciousness creates the body. And the conditioned consciousness creates all the problems in your life. If you have any, probably you don't. I mean, how can anyone have problems here? But if there were a problem to pop into your awareness and your live stream now and then, it would be a function of energy patterns that were initiated by unconscious patterns driving a field of energy. We live in a world where we've been taught that everything is outside of you. Your happiness, your fulfillment, it's all outside of you, and it's in time. And as we're starting to learn, particularly over the last 5-6 years, everything we've been taught is possibly wrong. And we're starting to see that maybe there's something transcendent of the ego, of the mind, of the personality. Maybe there's something transcendent even of time. And the word time and the word mind are actually one and the same, believe it or not. They're not two different things. You can't have mind without time, and you can't have time without mind. And for the mind, the thinking mind, that is the only reality. The only reality is time, and the reality is mind, is form. And everything is about form. I need to improve my form, whether it's my mental form or my physical form or my relationship form or my doing form. I need to improve that so that I can be happy, yes or no? So we're all searching in form and in time and in mind for our fulfillment. And yet, a moment ago, you breathed out and you touched the formless. And in that, there was possibly a recognition of going home. There was something deeper than time in that moment. Did anyone connect a little bit with that space? Two of you. Three of you. The mind won't want you to find value in that. Because in order for you to start valuing that, you're going to value the world of the mind a little less. And the mind, like any entity, wants to grow and wants to control and wants to dominate. Now, your happiness does not lie in the world of time. It doesn't lie in the world of manipulating forms so that you can experience something more valuable and deeper in yourself. Your happiness lies in you discovering who and what you really are at the deepest level. And that might sound very esoteric, but it's a truth that's been spoken of by many, or let me put it this way, all major profound spiritual teachers will tell you the same. It's about discovering what lies beneath the transitory, what lies beneath that which changes in time, to find that which never changes. And when you start to live your life on that ground, fear dissipates. And for many people, fear is a constant companion at one level or another. Am I right?
Yeah.
And fear stands for, my acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. It appears very real and very solid for the mind. And yet when you really look into it, you find it's insubstantial in the timeless essence of being. It only applies to the form part of you. And it's a form that's being threatened, possibly not even now, but in the future sometime or other, that you're worrying about. It's not even real in this moment. In fact, when you are faced with some calamity in the moment, you get mugged or you're in a car accident, there's very little fear there, virtually nil. You deal with what you need to deal with. Am I right?
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah? And in the moment, you can always deal with the present moment. But it's the thought about something that creates the fear. And that's where the acronym false evidence appearing real. It appears real. What's going to happen tomorrow or 10 years' time is real, says the mind. And it changes your your whole environment, your whole emotional body changes. And neuropeptides flood the body with the hormones that in fact stress the body and age the body. And it's not even real. And we live as if it is real. When you wake up first thing in the morning, for the first nanosecond, there's no story, am I right? And then suddenly you remember, oh yes, I'm whatever, with all these problems, with a past, and I'm going to a future. And then suddenly you start creating a whole reality for yourself. And that is normal. Don't think you're a bit mad, because it's normal. But it is normal to be mad. That's true. And people who completely believe in that reality as a solid reality, we lock them away in asylums. But we're all mad to a certain degree because we all buy into that unreality. You go to someone in a mental asylum and try and have a conversation about what is in this moment, and they haven't got a clue about what is in this moment because they're telling you a whole story. 100%, that's their focus. And we all do that. We might lock them away for talking out loud all the time, but we're doing it in our heads. Mm-hmm. We just have a little bit of suppression of what's going on here coming out of the mouth. But it is mad. And I believe that we're going through a major transformation in human consciousness at the moment. A major shift's taking place on this planet. And it's a shift from doing, from the human thinking, to the human being. It's a profound shift. It's a major shift. The man that influenced my life probably the most in a positive way has been Mr. Eckhart Tolle. I have been a spiritual seeker from a very young age. I had a near-death experience when I was 5, and I experienced something more real than this dimension, and my whole life was trying to get back there, trying to understand what happened, what is it all about. And I read the books. And most books that I read were people teaching from the horizontal plane. In other words, if you do this, you're going to find happiness over there. If you do this, you're going to become a better person. And Eckhart isn't a teacher on the horizontal plane. And there are great teachers on the horizontal plane, make no mistake, who have positively influenced my life journey. But when you come across a teacher that teaches in what's called vertical plane, the depth of life, there's nowhere to go. Carl, you were saying that you're reading the New Earth. There's nowhere to go with that book. You can sit with one line and that's it. You don't need to get to the next page. Where a good book, There's a hook at the end of the page, get you to turn the page. It's all about future, is it not? Where when you read or you listen to a teacher in the vertical plane, there's nowhere to go. And that nowhere to go connects you with your no place, your no being, your emptiness. And that space, you know, is more valuable than chasing improvement programs. You feel it. There are a lot of teachers that tell you you're not good enough now, and they bring out that belief within you because you know you're not good enough now. But if you do their work, then you're going to be worthwhile, worth something in the future. I mean, you've all met teachers like that. And then you meet a teacher like Eckhart that's just, it's here now already, just recognize it. There's nowhere to go, it's what Jesus taught. Heaven is here. You're chasing it in time, it's not over there, it's here. In the Gospel of St. Thomas, Jesus asked by his disciples, where is heaven? He said, it's here and now, it's all around you, but you perceive it not. It's a perceptual problem, not an actual physical problem. You've all read that. And some of you will resonate with that. So tonight is the portal out of suffering. So what is suffering?
Ignorance.
Ignorance. Could be. Any other ideas of what suffering is?
Imagination.
Imagination, yeah, that can create suffering.
Resistance.
Resistance,
Yeah.
That was the one I was looking for. You are resisting the isness of life. And that resistance, take your hands together and rub them. Rub, 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 rub. What happens? You get a bit of heat, don't you? And what is suffering but an inner heat, an inner resistance? Now, how do we get out of that suffering? What is this portal that is spoken about? The primary cause of unhappiness is never the actual situation. It's your thoughts about it, and I'm going to add, your resistant thoughts about it, your judgmental thoughts about it. Yes or no? So you start to recognize suffering differently to how you maybe used to see suffering. Suffering, in the old way of seeing it, is due to external circumstances being a way that I don't like. And all I need to do is fix them. And the external circumstances may well be your physical body, it may be your personality even. But it's all outside of you, the real you. And it needs to be changed so that I can be at peace. And peace maybe is the antithesis of suffering, would you say? It's the opposite of suffering, yeah? So suffering robs you of peace. Now the first recognition is to recognize that it is my thoughts that are creating my suffering. Most suffering. Not all suffering, but most suffering can be put down to your thoughts about a particular situation. Yes or no?
Yeah. Yeah.
And to recognize that they're your thoughts. They're not the government's thoughts, they're not your teacher's thoughts, they're not your parents' fault. They're yours. They're your creation. Eckhart suffered hugely in his life. He tried to find himself in terms of the mind, and a lot of us do that. I definitely did that in the first part of my life. And he was at university, and one of the professors that he really looked up to, he went to uni on Monday, and this professor, who had all the answers, had committed suicide. And that devastated him. He thought, if a man with all that knowledge hadn't found peace and joy in his life, then what was the point of this academia that he was involved with? And that shattered him. And he was suffering badly in his own life. He had poor self-esteem, and he suffered. And one night, he said, I cannot live with myself anymore. I can't. And then something cracked into him. He said, hang on, there's me and myself. How many of us are here?
Exactly.
And then a voice came to him and said, resist nothing. Resist nothing. And if you want to know more about the story, read his book, Power of Now. Because he went through a deep, dark night in the night. And he woke up the next morning and the world had changed. It was just this stillness. And this peace. He didn't understand it. Didn't know where it came from, what it was. It took him years to try and understand. He had stopped thinking. That's all. He didn't recognize in the beginning that he stopped thinking. He stopped thinking. And in that space of presence, he found the depth of being, which was peace. That was his story. And I believe he's the best, if you want to judge him, teacher of consciousness on this planet. There are many teachers in the vertical plane, but I think he's been extremely effective in giving us a way out of the mind. Very, very effective. So if you haven't read his books, Power of Now and New Earth and Stillness Speaks, I would suggest you do go into them. They're not novels. They're not going to take you anywhere other than to realize you're already there. The ego says, I shouldn't have to suffer, and that thought makes you suffer so much more. It is a distortion of the truth, which is always paradoxical. The truth is that you need to say yes to suffering. You need to let go of the resistance to suffering for you to transcend that suffering. You need to say yes to the unacceptable. So suffering has a purpose. It's not there for nothing. Suffering has a purpose, and the purpose is to do what?
To grow.
Is to dissolve your ego. That's really the point of suffering. Now, suffering that you resist grows the ego, paradoxically. Suffering that you say yes to diminishes the ego. So it is both something that the ego can amplify it with, but ultimately leads to the death of the ego, because there is a point when you've had enough suffering. There will come a point when you do give up. It happened to Jesus on the cross, and he gave up. Not my will, but thy will be done, just before the cross, in fact. And that was his enlightenment. There it was. He gave up. And he handed over. And all of us will get to that point. And it's just a case of how much do you want to suffer before you get to that point of surrendering your will to the will of the divine, to the will of life, if you will. Suffering, what happens to you in life is not necessarily within your control, not within your human conscious control. But what you think and what you feel about what happens to you is within your control. And that determines your level of suffering for most of the time. Pain is there. Pain is unavoidable at times. But it's a resistance to the pain that creates the suffering. True freedom and the end of suffering is living in such a way as if you had completely chosen whatever you feel or experience at this moment. That's a big one. That's a powerful tool. I'm not a victim of situations and circumstances. If I see myself in my true essence, which is the creator, then I'm making this all up. Me, I'm making it up. Not my ego. My ego would never do this. But there's an intelligence higher than my ego that is giving me the gift of this particular difficult challenge to go through. And then in that recognition, you get the option to say yes to suffering. And that's the end of the psychological pain that you've been experiencing. This in alignment with now, the end of suffering. If you suffer, is suffering really necessary? Yes and no. If you had not suffered as you have, there would be no depth to you as a human being, no humility, no compassion. You would not be reading this now. Suffering cracks open the shell of the ego, and then comes a point when it has served its purpose. Suffering is necessary until it's unnecessary.
I need you to say what you said before you started reading. Because it Bring it over.
You left the room.
I did.
You'll have to ask everyone else in the room because I have no idea what was said a few minutes ago.
You can replay the video.
Yeah,
Okay.
Michelle's recording it.
Sure.
So suffering is very necessary because quite often we think, this has no purpose. And that has no purpose creates more suffering in our lives. And then the mind says, well, I need to understand it so that I don't have to suffer anymore. Understanding doesn't relieve you of that. You can understand everything about everything and still suffer, still be in pain, still be unhappy. If understanding brought happiness, then the happiest people would be people with PhDs at universities and stuff. And they're not happy. I've counseled quite a few of them. Happiness comes from surrendering the mind. It comes to accepting the present moment exactly as it is, as if you had chosen it. It's very simple. You just pretend that you made it all up. And then I made it all up. Okay, then I can let go of saying no to what I made up. And the mind will come in and say, no, but what were you doing? Were you drunk at the time when you made all this up? I always say you wrote a diary before you came here, before you came down to this planet. And no, you weren't drunk when you wrote that diary. You were 8 times more intelligent, according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, when you wrote your script for this lifetime. 8 times more intelligent. So you can hand over to that. And then in that handing over, the resistance dissipates. If you had not suffered as you have, there would be no depth to you as a human being, no humility and no compassion. I love that one. So your suffering has not been for no end. It has deepened you as a human being. You can accept that. And when you can see purpose in that, you can let go of the resistance. Another marvelous teacher, Michael Singer. Anyone read his books?
Yeah.
Very good teacher, also in the vertical plane. He was sitting on his couch talking to his brother-in-law when he was 22, and he also just suddenly gave up. And there was his chattering mind, and there he sat. And his mind was chattering. And this is ridiculous. And so he took his old combi camper and he drove to some woods and he sat in the woods. He said, I just want to meditate and do yoga. That's it. Giving up anything else. And that's what he did the rest of his life. And in the process of sitting, meditating and doing his yoga and just being aligned with the isness of life, he built up a multi-billion-dollar medical software business in America. Unbelievable. And he wrote a book called The Surrender Experiment. It tells you how he lived his life after that moment. And the other one's called Untethered Soul, which is also excellent. So these are teachers in the vertical plane, which are all teaching, or in their own way, they're obviously giving their own essence a unique perspective, but they're pointing to the same place, which is the place that you touched at the end of the out-breath. It's not something in the future, it's something you are already sitting in this room today. It just goes unrecognized a lot of the time, that's all. You go back to that from there. Yeah, it may look as if the situation that you're in, it may look as if your mother-in-law is creating all your suffering, or the government. Or sometimes I say the weather, but today the weather is beautiful, so it's not creating much suffering. It isn't the situation, it's to recognize it's your thoughts about the situation. And you can do something about your thoughts as you become aware of your thoughts. Because if you don't have a level of awareness of what's going on up here, you'll be a complete victim to that process of unconscious resistance to life. Awareness is the greatest agent for change. So I'm going to touch on a little map that I share in all the work that I do. It's a little map, and if you start working with this map, it will lead you back to who and what you really are. It's a journey without distance to a place you never left. You come back and, oh, it was here all along. Anyone read the book The Alchemist? Alchemist, yeah, that's another book. He goes on a long journey searching for his treasure, and he comes back and finds it, oh, it was here all along. And that's the truth of our lives. We spend a long time looking in the wrong direction. So I'm going to share a little map with you. By the way, if I'm saying something new tonight that you haven't heard, that's great. but it's not about gaining more information. That's not what life is about at this stage. It's about applying what you know deep within yourself already. And all a good teacher can ever do is remind you of what you already have buried deep inside you. If it's not inside you, don't accept it. But if there's something that awakens, know that to be your truth. No one can give you your truth. It's already there. So there's a certain day in our lives which is quite important. It's called our birthday. Who's having a birthday this week? Anyone?
Pete.
Hey?
Yeah.
Pete.
Pete.
When? Yesterday. Yesterday!
Oh.
Hey, man! Congratulations. Beautiful.
Birthday.
Well done. Leo. You're born on a certain date and you shuttle off your mortal coil on a certain date.
Anyone's done that?
And this is recorded quite often in stone on your tombstone. And the two dates and the dash between that dash is your life, isn't it? And if you're very wealthy, you get a big tombstone with a nice long prominent dash. It's all about the dash, isn't it? And many people live their lives as if it is about the dash. And you're on the timeline racing to get over here to the future because that's where it all happens. Am I right? Yeah. The dead end, that story. And that's normal. Normal is the past is behind us and the future's ahead, and hopefully there's some beautiful chalice over here waiting for us to reward us for all the good things that we've done in life. It's called salvation, if you've been good, according to whose principles. And in reality, you're sitting here tonight. This is where you are, right? Michelle's the artist, not me.
We can see that.
He actually is an artist, so you don't know.
I don't do drawing though. And you're here on this chair today. Now I'm looking around the room. I can't see your past. Neither can I see your future. I see your presence. And the more presence you are, I see more beauty. I'll say that again. If you see a little baby and you look at that baby, don't you see some aliveness that is lacking in adults? And you see that baby and you see beauty in that baby. Am I right? Why? Why do we do that?
The present, yeah.
They're not in their minds. They're just here. They're just looking at you as you are. They're not judging you. They just got those little eyes. And their presence ignites your presence, which is love. That's what love is. And when you start to look at people for who they really are, not for who you think they should be or might be or ought to be, but for who they are, you look at them with eyes of acceptance. There's something that opens up between you and them. So you go out, you find this beautiful new mate. You don't know the mate yet, but you go out and have dinner and you're sitting there, there's a candle, and you're sitting opposite them, and it's a beautiful evening, and you look into their eyes, and there's this openness within you. There's a flow of love in that moment. Am I right? You're not judging them. If you are, that's not going anywhere. But there's a moment of full acceptance of this moment. That's it, acceptance. And through that portal, love flows. And then after 20 years of marriage, there's a lot of time and no presence. Am I right? Too much past, too much future, and no presence. And so love is gone. Because love and presence are one and the same. So in this diagram that I've drawn there, I'm going to give you another way of living your life other than time, and that is this is the horizontal plane of time and mind. And it's ruled by false evidence appearing real. The other way is when you get into the depth of being, which is the vertical plane, the timeless essence of presence. And in that space of presence, there is a place that you connect with your heart. which we call love. Just a word, a four-letter word. And that word points us to something that is beyond mind, beyond understanding. Does anyone understand love? It's not something you can understand, because it's beyond understanding. The same way you can't understand presence. This is about direct experience. This is about understanding. Now this symbol you've seen before. Where have you seen that symbol? Yeah. Now this goes way back before Christianity. In fact, the early Christians didn't use this as a symbol at all. Not for hundreds of years they never used this, until the pagans got involved. Then they started using the pagan symbol, which was the cross. But up until that point it was the fish. The fish was the symbol of Christianity for a couple hundred years. This symbol, though, goes back thousands of years, and it is denoting the human mind, our creation, intersected by spirit or God's creation. And we're a combination of that. We have a mind, we have a human body, human experience, but we are spirit, or whatever you want to call it. We are presence, we are love. And I'm going to put that word spirit up there as well, if you want to put it in. Another word for it is you are the light. Now, while your head seems to be very caught up in this level, your heart is in the vertical plane. And many people are looking for love, the fullness of love. Not the conditional time-based love, but the real depth of unconditional love. This is a conditional place, conditioned on time and situations and forms being a certain way. This is the unconditional state. Don't we yearn for unconditional love? Most of us. We yearn for unconditional love. The question is, are we prepared to give it? Or do we only give conditional love? Parents to your children, you love your child until they start taking drugs and doing all sorts of horrible things. And you love them more when they get good marks at school. And you love them less when they hang out with the bad guys on the street or whatever. That's completely conditional. And that's what we were subjected to as children growing up. So it's something we've adopted in our lives. But now is the time to change and to shift. To start valuing the depth of life rather than the story of life. The story of life, I call the Matrix, because it's like Siem Delan or one of those soap operas. It's a never-ending story. It goes on and on. Sign of infinity. This is all about memory. And this is all about anticipation. And that's how most of us live. Relying on memory and anticipation for our identity, for our fulfillment. And so what Eckhart and other teachers are pointing us towards is a state of being rather than doing. This is the human doing. Let's put that there, the human doing. And this is the I am. And the word being. A lot of us are looking for peace, and peace doesn't happen in time, it happens in the timeless essence of being. This is a map which we're going to expand upon a lot this next week. It's a simple map. A map is not reality. No map is ever reality. It's a map. It's a condensement of information so that we can apply it in our lives. But I guarantee you that if you start paying more attention to the vertical plane, your suffering will dissipate immensely, profoundly, miraculously, absolutely guaranteed. This is the portal out of suffering, the vertical plane. This is a continuance of unconscious thought patterns that drive us. Most of our thinking is unconscious. 95% of our thinking, they say, is being generated through unconscious thought patterns. Most of our actions arise from those unconscious thought patterns. We're not even aware. We think we're in control of our lives. We're not. It's your past, your history. And often it is so deeply embedded, you have no idea what's driving you. But you don't have to understand. You don't have to go to therapy for 10 years and spend a lot of money. All you do is step into presence, because the more present you are, the more you dissolve those old patterns. There's another teacher called Joe Dispenza. Anyone know him? Yeah. You look at the work that he does with people. He takes people through an intensive 7-day program, and sometimes they get it. Like the one woman had a thyroid removed, and after 7 days the thyroid was back. The surgeon, when they went and told the surgeon, there's no ways he could begin to comprehend it. He had cognitive dissonance. He couldn't believe it had happened. He said, I removed that. It's not there. But it was there. That's how we alter reality from the vertical. And this is the field of miraculous. This is, I need to sort out physical things by manipulation, by control. This is a different field of creation. And it's here now, not in the future. It takes one conscious breath to bring you back into the depth of being. That's all. One breath taken with full conscious awareness, and you're there. It's a matter of practicing it and valuing it. As I said earlier, the more you value something, the more you pay attention. The moment we value time more than being. Yes or no? As you start to value being more than time, so you start to live in the field of what Albert Einstein called the miraculous. He said this world of form, of time, is an illusion. He said, albeit a very persistent illusion. That's Albert Einstein, a man of science. This process that we're going through at the moment can be given a word, and the word is awakening. When you're sleeping, you believe the dream to be real. Absolutely. It might not make any sense whatsoever, but it's real. And then you awaken in the morning, within a few moments of waking up, you realize the dream was not substantial. It's the same with this world. This is the dream, and this is awakening. And as you start to live in an awakened way, your life shifts. The way you experience the world shifts. You don't suffer anymore, because you don't resist life. But as you do that, you become a portal for consciousness to flow into this dimension and to help other people. Many good people do a lot of work at this level. So we have a war against cancer. Do we cure cancer? We have a war against rape. Do we sort out rape? I was just looking at the stats for cancer in America. It's like a hockey stick. It's gone off the charts now. With all the money and all the effort being spent. No. Because it's not about doing, it's about being. The more being you come in, you will find that your work changes. In fact, Eckhart says the word work will drop away. It's no longer work, play now. You play, and that joy within you brings about positive, real effects in the world of form, in miraculous ways. Anyone ever heard the word grace before? What is grace? Grace is what flows into this dimension when you're present. That's it. It's something that can't be manipulated, can't be controlled, can't be directed. You open, and grace flows through that emptiness, that portal, into this dimension. Which is what happened to that woman with the thyroid. She gave up her story that had created the reality in her physical body. And when she gave up that story completely, the miraculous was able to work through her with the power of grace. And that's a very simple map. It's a very, very simple map. Use your mind, but don't let it to use you. Have a mind, but recognize that you're doing the having. And something you have, if I have a pen, it's something that I have. Who's doing the having? Now, for most people, they don't have a mind. The mind has them. Lock, stock, and barrel. They wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I'm sure it's not none of you in the room, but there are some people that are so mad. They wake up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and the mind is going. And you say, I want to sleep. And the mind says, no, I'm controlled here. We need to worry about this. Particularly parents, they worry about their children. Has worrying ever helped any situation ever? They say worry is praying for what you don't want. You're giving energy to that which you don't want. Why do it? Because the mind's in control. The mind thinks it's responsible to worry. I wouldn't be a good mother if I didn't worry about my children. You'd be a far better mother if you didn't worry. Try it and see. You know, I don't want to give you another belief, but if you take this information and apply it in your lives, and when you see the benefits, you start working with it. It becomes yours. What questions do we have? What's some questions? Besides what did I say 5 minutes ago? I have no idea. Any questions? Why do children suffer? Let's look at that for a moment. That doesn't seem right, does it? Is that a question someone would like to ask? Why do children suffer? But what about very young children? I want to say very young children don't suffer. The parents suffer. Parents suffer through what their child is going through, but the child itself is not suffering. The child is just accepting whatever is in that moment. But we project our suffering. We project our suffering onto the child. Sorry?
It doesn't mean to say that that child is not suffering. Sorry, I've lost.
It doesn't mean that the child is not in pain, but there's a big difference between pain and suffering. Suffering is psychological pain. But quite often, we get our sense of identity from another. And when something goes wrong in their life, we feel that pain, and we resist that pain to say it shouldn't be like that, and therefore we suffer. Now, in our suffering, do we benefit the person who's in that pain?
No.
To be the best parent you can is to just add your presence to every situation. That's the best parent. The more you add your past to that situation, the more you introduce this suffering. And this dysfunctional, unconscious systems are going to pollute that situation. So my understanding is that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It's eternal. That's energy. That's what they taught me at school. It's about anything I learned at school. And energy, while it can't be created nor destroyed, changes form. So what is sitting here listening to me this evening is consciousness. And that consciousness is in a particular form. By the time you leave here tonight, that form has changed, because every time you breathe out 10 to the power of 22 atoms. So the fact is our body is changing moment to moment to moment. But what is aware never changes. The comprehension of what is being made aware of changes, your mind changes, but awareness itself, that awareness that you touched at the end of your out-breath is just empty. Just awareness. And the way I can give you another map to look at, another way of seeing that, is the analogy of the cinema. First of all, why do you go to the cinema? Go there for experience, right? Go there for experience. And you sit in the movie and you looking at a blank screen. There's no physical people there. But you get caught up in the drama and you feel the emotion of what's happening on that wall. What is real in that room is not the moving shadows on the wall. There's a light at the back of the room that shines. And that shine isn't participating in the movie at all. That light is enabling you to have that experience. It shines through a film which blocks most of the light and projects shadows on a wall that you think of as reality. And you feel those emotions. But what is real is the light. Now that light was given a name in the Bible when Moses went to the burning bush and said, God, okay, who are you? Give me a name. What was the name that was given? For the ultimate light was the Aya Asha. The Aya Asha Aya. The I am. That I am. It's your name. It's your name. It's the awareness that's aware of your humanness. It's the awareness that's aware of this talk to me. That awareness, that pure, that's a seed of the divine. In my case, it gets caught up with an identity in this never-ending story called John. So I would say I am John, with a past and a future. But the I amness that's aware is timeless. Now this energy that's animating that light bulb at the back, that energy, if we can think of it this way, it's just shining. It doesn't matter what movie you put on, a war movie, horror movie, love movie, it's fine. It's just shining. The movie, which is a stream of sort of darkness that blocks the light, creates the movie. Now that movie is your mind. So think of it this way. The light is who you are. It's the light of unconditioned consciousness. It's shining through the mind and creating conditioned reality on a screen. Now that light was there before the movie, it's there after the movie. So let's go back to children suffering. I'm going to suggest that the consciousness that inhabits that little child has been around forever. It's timeless. And steps into the body, into the human experience, carrying some of those unconscious patterns that's accumulated in prior experiences. And they play out in the body. They play out in which parents get chosen for that body. But the unconditioned consciousness in that child is pure, and nothing real can be threatened. And so children don't come in innocent as we think they are. They have less mind in the human form, so therefore that light, that pure I amness, until they're given a name that they can identify with, that light shines brighter and we can see it in their eyes. And it opens the I amness within us, right? But don't think that they're not also participating in this never-ending story. And there are no victims in this world. They're just action and reaction. In the East they give it a name and they call that karma. In Christian terminology we call it as you sow, so shall you reap. But the truth of where we are now in our evolution is not to try and fix the story, but rather to wake up to who and what is eternal within you and within everyone that you meet. And the recognition of that is called love. And there's 3 words that we use that help illuminate the word called love. What are the 3 words that we use? I forgot it. Sammy?
Gone, not yet.
Okay, they all start with A. Can anyone tell me what those 3 words are?
Awareness.
Acceptance.
Accept. Yes, next one. Allow. And the last one? Appreciate. Can you see how those 3 words can take you into the field of acceptance, of love, of presence? Those 3 words. Don't do it conditionally. Do it unconditionally. Don't do it preferentially. I love that, but not that.
The child will pick that up immediately.
Correct. Do it unconditionally. Accept unconditionally. Appreciate unconditionally. And you'll feel so much better by doing that. You're not trying to fix anyone. You're just remembering your true essence. Any questions? I love questions. I'll put this aside then. We don't need that anymore. Take that map home with you in your mind. Just know that there's a crossbar, which is suffering, and there's a way out of suffering, which is the vertical plane.
Do those A's come in a sequence?
No. Because all sequence, Sammy, is time-based. There is no sequence, there's no sequential transformation in the vertical plane. It's the same as, for example, grief. Anyone going through grief at the moment? It's one of the hardest human experiences ever to go through. And Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote down the 5 stages of going through grief. And they're not sequential. They're all at the same time. The denial, the anger. And ultimately, what is the healing of all grief?
Non-resistance.
Yes, non-resistance.
What's the way out of pain?
Out of pain. There's no way out of pain other than through, other than in it. The only way with pain is to accept it absolutely. Any challenge you have, if you only take one thing from this talk tonight, let it be this. any challenge or problem that you have, the solution to that is love. Whatever the problem, whatever the challenge, the solution is love. What created it was fear at some level, some false evidence appearing real that we believe to be true that created it. If we can accept that, then the solution out of that is love. So it is hard. Love the pain. In loving the pain, the hold it has over you will dissipate. Absolutely guaranteed. I've done it many times in my life. We're faced with extreme pain. You allow it to be there. You accept it. And you appreciate it for the teaching that it is. That is love. And in that love, you will find a healing taking place at a profound, deep level within you. Any other questions?
Sorry, if we're talking about pain and we go through those 3 A's, accepting it, you accept you've got pain, allow it, you have to allow it because it's there, but how do you appreciate that?
So appreciate that nothing happens by chance. We don't live in a random universe. I know the mind thinks we do. We don't live in a random universe. If you think you live in a random universe, go for a reading with Michelle. She's an astrologer, and you'll find that your life is not as random as you thought.
It's not random.
Not at all. Not at all. So, therefore, the pain is not an accident. The pain is a teacher. And it is there not for your punishment, but for your transformation. You can see pain and you can see suffering as a fire, as a burning. And as it burns away the dross, what is left is light. So the fire becomes the light of your consciousness, the light of your healing. Resist not. Resist not. You're not going to make anything better by resisting it. Ever. You allow. You allow the isness of this moment to be. That's all. You don't allow the past, you don't allow the future, allow the isness of this moment. Now the ego, the mind, will come in and say, no, but if I didn't resist life, it would just get worse and worse and worse. Someone needs to get out there and do something. Missing the point completely. When your doingness comes from resistance, the result of that, you're sowing seeds of anger and despair. What is the crop that grows from that? When you approach the situation with love, what flowers from that? What arises from that? And that's what we're talking about.
So I understand the acceptance of the situation. So a woman gets raped. Not her fault, she gets raped. How does she see the love in that instead of the anger? How do you do that? You accept what's happened. You know that there's a lesson there to be learned. How do you transform that into love?
So I've never been raped before, but I've had some challenging situations happen to me as a child. And I, at a very young age, somehow had the awareness not to resist that, not to build up a story to carry with me, to drop the story and to forgive each moment as it occurred, to drop it completely. There was a book written by Alison Boerter, I think her name was. Yeah? Have you read that book?
Yeah.
Yes.
What did she do? She dropped the story and she felt love for those. And she healed, and in her healing, the light shone through her and transformed the lives of maybe many hundreds of thousands of women in the world. Whereas if she hadn't done that, if she had carried on dragging that story with her of resistance, her pain would have ignited pain in others. But her love ignited healing in others. If there's something you need to do about the situation, to report it, to lock up those people, you do that. But you don't do it with the resistance that you used to carry, if you don't want to carry pain in the future. It's a choice, that's all. You realize, oh my God, I've got a choice in the moment as to what seeds I'm going to plant in this action. Am I going to continue to plant seeds that brought me what I've experienced up until now? Or am I going to plant new seeds that are going to give me a different experience in the future? Awareness is the greatest agent for change. As you become aware, you become empowered with your true creatorship to create what you want rather than what you don't want. Because we're all creating. Every thought is an act of creation. Every feeling is a more profound act of creation. We create this whole world, as we're going to wake up to very shortly, that this is all our creation, created out of thoughts and emotions, believing it to be an objective world. It's not, it's a subjective world. Rather create what you want. And surely what you want comes from the vertical plane, not from the horizontal plane. And the more you start to work with acceptance, accepting the isness of life, and moving forward from that ground, rather than from the ground of anger or despair or resentment or guilt. So you create a new earth for you to live in, and for your children to live in, and for your grandchildren to live in. Because we live in a collective consciousness of all of humanity. We're not separate. The same way I've got 5 little digits on my hand, they're all part of one body. They're all having different experiences, doing different things. But they're all us. There's no one who's not you. And love is the recognition of that. Love is the recognition of the sense of oneness in your awareness. There's no other. So you are one with the perpetrator of the crime. That's a hard one. No, that's not me. They're all you. Everyone is you.
I want to ask a question, but just to say something I read very recently, and that about forgiving. And what it basically said is, I think I will forgive you or forgive that person, but you don't forgive for that, you forgive for your own benefit. It's actually a selfish thing, because you then let all of that go. It's like a change of viewpoint on that. Do it for yourself.
Yeah.
What I want to ask is, so you suffer and you have something. I now have to work out what's the lesson. And I look and I look and I look and I can't see the lesson. And is that on the horizontal plane? Do I just have to hang in there and one day I will go out? I don't know. That's a frustration for me at the moment. Because I'm happy with, I'm aware, I understand, there's a lesson there, and I'm looking for it, but I can't find it.
What will finding out the meaning of the lesson give you?
To understand why it was necessary.
What will that give you?
It will calm me.
It'll give you more peace, won't it? It'll give you more peace.
Yeah, okay, that was.
You don't need to understand anything to get to peace. That's another mind construct. If only I could understand why, then I could be at peace. You didn't have to understand anything in the beginning of this talk tonight. You went into that space. The mind will tell you, no, but you can't go there yet because you don't understand. What a bullshit story that is. So, understanding promises you everything and delivers you nothing.
No.
Absolutely guarantee you that. Where acceptance and presence and beingness and dropping into the vertical plane gives you what you're really looking for. Because I know it is peace that you're looking for. Am I right? Isn't that what we're looking for? Through all understanding, we want to be at peace. If only I could understand why my mother-in-law was like she is, then I could be at peace. Then I could accept her. Then I could love her. Love her now, irrespective of not being able to understand. Give it up. You'll never understand. You don't have to understand. Understanding requires time. Your healing requires presence. The more present you are, the more you create the right environment for healing to take place.
I have to say I'm on the same page there. My friend talks about inner standing, not understanding. And there's definitely a situation in my life where I have made peace with it, I've accepted it, and I'm even grateful for it. But I would love to know why that happened. I would love to know. I really would love to know.
All right, so
but
now,
anyway, that's not my question.
I just want to add to that. So now, why do you go into a cinema? For experience.
Entertainment.
And eventually, when you've lost, you watch 330 2,000 videos or movies, okay, no more. Then you can step out of the cinema and be back to the light again. And the need to understand keeps you locked in that dark space of illusion. Just consider that. The need, Buddha spoke about that. Our desire creates the imprisonment of us in this time-based awareness. If you've suffered enough, I'm not saying you have, then there is a portal out of that. You know, the cinema, they have those little exit signs that says exit. Okay? And the exit sign is over here. The exit sign sits over this little place over here. And it actually doesn't say exit, it says surrender. That's the exit sign. Surrender the need, the desire to know, the desire for things to be different, and act from that space. That is love. Then you open up to the field of the miraculous, where that understanding that you need. When you let go of the need to understand, it's there. But the very need to understand keeps you locked in this space. This is where everything is known. I've been there many times in my life, and there are no questions. Because before you can even think of a question, the answer is known already. You get to it when you're showering. You know, you're showering and you're not thinking, and then suddenly it drops in. You're there, you're aligned. Yes, other question.
So, I'm not enlightened. I'm a very human being. And
What is
there's
your
a
name again?
situation. Liesel.
Liesel.
And there's a situation.
Liesel is not enlightened.
I'm not enlightened.
That's
No,
Liesel's story.
Liesel
That's
is
what-
enlightened.
I'm
I hear what he's saying.
no, yeah,
Liesel
okay,
is not. You
okay,
are.
okay. Thank you. You see, I'm very hesitant to ask a question because it's hard to, in this context, ask a very human question. So
Ask
I'm
a
just
human
saying.
question.
So my human question is that there's a certain situation in my life that activates my nervous system,
Yeah.
and it changes my breathing. It overwhelms me, and in that moment I do not have access to deep breaths. No one reminds me to do a vagus release or do a cold plunge, or I just hyperventilate and freak out or cry, and I can't find my way out from that situation faster than just the way that I've been doing it, by freaking out until I stop freaking out. Is there a way, like how can you get awareness faster, or how can one catch it quicker if it is like almost like no grey area? It's a switch, it's not a dial.
Okay, so I gave another name for this, it's called spirit. If you reach for the bottle of Jack Daniels
Yes.
and drink that, then you're fine. So just add more spirit.
Then it's enlightened.
No, so let me just answer that. So the time to try and be enlightened and awake is not when you're going through some deep trauma if you haven't practiced. Because you won't be able to do it. Do it in everyday situations. Someone pulls in front of you in the traffic, be present, accept them, love them. The small little things, accept that. Can you do that to small little things in life? Yes. The more you practice that, then you are better equipped when the big things happen. So this is not something to work with when you're in that traumatic state. It's to work with while you're brushing your teeth. Can I be present with me just brushing my teeth? Can I withdraw my mind from the thing I'm going to do next? Can I just be brushing my teeth? You do it in small little ways. And then you'll have the resilience within you when the big things hit.
But that is pre-knowledge.
No knowledge, you're just brushing your teeth.
Yes, but you, as you say, you got no one there to tell you, brush your teeth, do this, get into the
So just a case of, it's what I said earlier, is whatever you value, pay more attention to. If after this evening's talk, you start to value the vertical plane, you will start automatically paying it more attention. When you're walking, you're not so worried about getting over there anymore. You're now focused on this step that I'm taking now. I'm not always in a rush to get somewhere else. You know, you go and rush into the supermarket to buy your food, busy buying your food, you wish you should be already at the teller paying for them. Now you're paying for them, are you happy now? No, you're not happy now because they should be in the car. You get in the car, are you now blissfully happy? No, because you should be at home cooking supper already. You're always ahead of yourself. But as you start to practice, no, I'm just lifting this thing from the supermarket shelf and putting my trolley. You wake up, you remember. And as you start to do that, the miraculous will step in. They say, take one step towards God, God takes 10 steps towards you. As you do that, you will find a greater intelligence helping you on your journey, because you have made a decision to walk in a new direction. And there is help there for you. Were you just yawning? Or?
No. So, can you do the chair thing? Because that's going to answer that next question.
The chair thing. Chairs are for sitting on.
No, come, please.
The problem is that we get attached to our chairs. So I'm very enlightened, except I'm very attached to my chair. And so wherever I go, I take this chair. This is not their chair, it's my chair. And I take this wherever I go. I take my chair with me. And I would be happy and free and joyful if I didn't have to carry this bloody chair with me wherever I go. That is who I am, unfortunately. I have to. And it's quite annoying for me, but really annoying for other people as well. Until I fall in love. When I fall in love, something happens. I quickly hide my chair. I haven't got a chair. No chair. And you put on this persona, of perfection. I don't have this chair. And then, getting into bed with them, and you're like lifting your chair. And then one night you say to her, but you've got a chair. What are you carrying a chair? And she says, well, you've got a chair. Yeah, we've got these chairs. And how do I drop this chair that I'm carrying with me? The story. How do I drop it? Because it's who I am. I'm Liesel. It's my chair. Me, Liesel, one and the same. Am I right? So I had a woman come on my one retreat many years ago in the wilderness, and she was quite an ugly woman. She was 28, she was angry, not a nice person at all. And she'd been raped when she was 16. And she was very angry about it. Should not have happened. Should not have happened. We said, no, it shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. And we went through certain processes, and eventually said to her, when are you going to drop it? Can't, it happened to me. Shouldn't have happened. I'm a rape survivor. I said, what, in 10 years' time, are you still going to be carrying your chair? She said, yes, it's me. I am it. And it shouldn't have happened. I said, what, in 50 years' time, are you still going to be carrying the chair? She said, yes. I said, what about 500 million years' time? Are you still going to be carrying that chair? And she went quiet. She went very quiet. She said, no. I said, where between now and then are you going to drop it? Because you are going to drop it. And she cried. And she cried. And I said to her, he raped you once. You've raped yourself every single day, probably multiple times a day you've raped yourself. And you know why you're doing that? Because you don't love yourself. You don't accept yourself, you don't allow yourself, and you don't appreciate yourself. He did it once, but you do it over and over again. If you loved yourself, you wouldn't do that to yourself. And she got it. She went through a process and she got it. She sent me a photograph a few years later. Beautiful girl with a baby and a husband. Total transformation because she dropped her chair. She dropped the story of being that. And she went into presence. She found her light. And that light shone through her. And people could see that beauty. Because presence and beauty are one and the same. One and the same. So I'd like to just go to one thing. I've got this little booklet which has just been published today called 7 Golden Keys to Awakened Living, which we're going to go through those 7 keys next week. But there's one key which I'd like to go through now.
Golden Key 2, Radical Forgiveness. One of the most essential steps in awakened living is radical forgiveness, forgiving each moment as it arises in awareness, allowing life to unfold without clinging to any personal position for a sense of identity. This is not about condoning harmful behavior, nor denying pain. It is about freeing yourself from the prison of past perceptions and their emotional residue. Forgiveness is, at heart, an act of self-liberation. Radical forgiveness washes you clean of the past, allowing you to step into the full potential of life as it is right now. It frees you to love more freely and to receive the beauty and joy that this moment has to offer. This liberation is not merely a gift, it is your very purpose in being here on earth at this time. Radical forgiveness allows you to see through the judgments of the polarized egoic mind, to see through the stories you have long identified with, stories that have constructed and maintained a historical egoic sense of self. In releasing them, you discover what remains when the story falls away. When embodied, the golden key of radical forgiveness enables you to dissolve long-held resentments, release relational triggers, cultivate deep healing in your relationships, open the door to mental, physical, and emotional restoration, experience a genuine and lasting emotional lightness. Imagine what your life would feel like without the weight you have been carrying for so long. Start practicing this golden key today. And the quote from A Course in Miracles: "Forgiveness is the healing of the perception of separation."
So there are 7 golden keys, and as we start to practice those golden keys, our lives change. As our lives change, the people we interact with around us benefit from your enlightenment, from your wakefulness. You don't buy into the stories anymore. Because one thing I don't do is buy into people's stories. Because I can see through them. I help people step out of their story. That's the work Michelle and I do. Help people come home to peace, to love. Through the portal of acceptance, allowing, appreciation, forgiveness.
And it's a growing process.
Yes and no. It's a lovely good answer, that yes and no. Because who you really are is already complete and whole. It doesn't need to go in you. It doesn't need to grow. I used to believe that we had lessons to learn. That's what I used to believe. I was going, no, it's just experience.
Yeah.
It's just experience, that's all. I'm here just to experience. It's a different way. And as long as I know what is through experiencing, I'm whole and healed. If I think I am a this needing to become a that, then I'm lost. But if I know that I am the light at the back of the cinema, just aware of it, that awareness is enough to open a portal for healing to take place within me and my stuff and within the people that I meet. You're opening a portal and allowing grace to come through. Remember, you're not surrendering to life. You are just giving up the resistance to life. Life is an isness. You're giving up your fight, the war you're having with life. If you want to pick a fight with someone, pick a fight with someone smaller than you. Life is bigger than you. So don't have a fight with life. Sometimes surrender means giving up trying to understand and becoming comfortable with not knowing.
Wow.
Suffering is necessary until you realize it's unnecessary. As I said, suffering can add to the egoic identity. I'm the one who suffers more than anyone else. Egoic identity. Or that suffering can melt the ego. And the choice is yours. And the choice is how much more psychological pain do you want to carry on experiencing. We have our retreat next week called the Age of Wisdom. In September we're doing our most favourite one, which, I mean, we love this one, but the Hogsback is the one that
Helen came on.
Helen did. It's the most magical place on this planet, Hogsback, and that we're doing in September. Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say about it?
It's an experiential workshop, so it's a retreat where you get to practice what John's described, and that's what it's all about, because you can hear it and you can learn it and think you understand it, but until you actually practice it on an ongoing basis, you don't get it. That's the practice. So in a sort of a place and a time where that's the focus, you get to feel it. And that's where the shift happens. So I think people that have been on the workshop will possibly say yes or no for that.
It's a great course.
And it's experiential, in that we connect as very intimately. It's not a huge retreat. And we do experiential processes. So I do some process art, which is an experience where you get to feel it in your body. We do other things as well. So it's an active experience, basically.
And that art, that process art that Michelle does is truly profound. Am I right, Helen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you feel it. I think that is the operative part that I want to do, was just bringing everything together tonight. Because you're hearing it, it's still an academic conversation.
Yes.
Let it go. It's still the mind. What do you mean by let it go? Until you feel it, you don't have that connection. And I was just trying to think of ways that you would feel exactly what you said.
Yeah.
And for me, that makes it very complete.
Because as you're feeling it somatically in your body, you're not here, you're here.
Exactly.
And that's where the shift happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what it's about. Yeah, that's what all our retreats and workshops are.
Yeah.
Combination of.
And that course teaches you to live in the now, like right now.
And we have to get reminded of that. And that's the practice. When they say your spiritual practice, it's the reminder of that. Because we know it, but like we know it. Then you practice it, and as you would have experienced in a workshop over a few days, it becomes easier. And as you start to practice this, you start to just slow it down, and you start to drop in quicker.
One of the biggest benefits is ultimately as you integrate it into your day-to-day living in small ways, worry becomes absolutely impossible. I gave up worrying many, many years ago. It's impossible for me to.
And he used to worry. So I mean, that's why
I lost my hair.
He rubbed it all off. No, but the thing is that it's a process. So it means that the more you act, when you know something works, then you use it more. You use that process more. Eventually, and John really does not worry. When I first met him, it drove me mad. I'd say, "How can you not worry?" And now I get it. And he doesn't worry. He's conscious of things and he does what he needs to do, but he doesn't worry about it. He doesn't sit and cogitate about it. And that's practice. It's not something that he was necessarily had in the very beginning. So it's proof that this kind of has a real effect. Yeah. So that's that.
And I just say I'm 95 and I've only just learned that.
Wow. 95. You're amazing.
Never too old to learn.
You're a slow learner.
Always be.
Yeah. You think you're so enlightened, and you've taken a lot of life experience to get to that point, and then you go and speak to a little 5-year-old or a 7-year-old. They've got it already.
Yes.
They've got it already.
Absolutely.
They've got it already.
Or if you're with an animal, a dog, or something.
I mean,
So present.
that's why we have
what
pets.
dissipates-
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.